Good evening, everyone. Hope you guys can hear me all right. It's been a while since we've done one of these here, so this is um, uh, we're going to see if we can get caught up on a few things here. Um, I guess the first thing we're going to go over is the county had a special called meeting of the county commission. One of the things that we really have to look at when understanding that is when you have a special called meeting, it's just like a regular called meeting as far as rules and regulations go. One of the things that did not happen here is we had this problem just a couple of months ago with the planning commission, and they had to stop that meeting. Well, they use it as a training session, but bottom line is they had a meeting that they should not have had. So they used it as a training session instead of actually taking any action, because you can't take action if you don't post an agenda 48 hours prior to the meeting. Now, we shared a post about this here with the special called meeting with the county commission. And what happened is they actually had an agenda put out a couple of weeks before. And sometime along the way, they changed the agenda. All right. Well, when you change that agenda, you still have to have an agenda put out to the public 48 hours minimum. And they failed to do that. They did post it. They didn't post it on the Facebook page, but they did post it on the website, which is the first time, and I can't remember that they've actually posted an agenda on the website. But even then, if you go back and look at the history of it, they didn't meet the 48 hours minimum. So technically, we could have gone back in there and pushed this here with the comptroller to have that meeting canceled. We did not do this. One of the things, I was at the point of, I'll be honest with you, I was at the point of I was kind of getting fed up with the same old thing. It's like they're pushing to see how far they can get away. But I had considered taking a lawsuit to go ahead and getting this thing resolved so they would stop doing it. But I'm holding off, and the reason being is one of the items that was on that agenda is it kind of holds some, I don't know how else to say this here. It holds some personal meaning to me. For you guys that know, LexNet is out. And I think that they have completed all their cabinet installations. So they're an up and running at 100%, if I remember correctly, is what was said in one of the recent meetings. So LexNet does not cover every single person in Henderson County. It only covers customers of Lexington Electric System. Just to give you an idea, when you get up just south of Beaver School, there's a Flake Cemetery Road. But let's just say south, we'll say Beaver School. It transitions to Carroll County Electric, and that's where we are up here in in the northern part of the county. Now, and it goes out, covers a pretty good chunk, pretty much north of the interstate. As you move west and east, actually, I think east it does drop down a little bit past the interstate, very much like it does with Beaver. But there is 66 houses, if I remember correctly, our count was that day. We took a ride with Commissioner Junior Carter from District 1, Michael Tate, school board member from District 1, Brock Martin, and myself took a ride, and we counted out the houses that was going to be left behind, because what happened is Spectrum is actually picking up part of the part of this area up here through a grant. But one little section here of two roads, it was less than 10 miles. I don't think it's somewhere around about 4 or 5 miles, I think is what we ended up calculating on the odometer, that was going to be left out. And, this is a minority community up here. Heck, I don't know how many times they've been promised things and it just never came about. And, gas is one of those things. Natural gas ever being plumbed up this way. The first excuse was it wasn't, they weren't going to cross the interstate because it cost too much money. Well, then they crossed the interstate and went to the golf course up here off Mount Gilead Road. But then it was too costly to bring it down here. And just probably a couple of years ago, I believe Junior Carter actually had a push on that as well to bring the natural gas down this way. So, these Henderson County people that's been up here all their lives have been neglected. So, I didn't see any need in trying to stir that pot, so to say. We didn't push on that with that agenda. But like I said, if you go back in, you can look at, I'm actually going to pull it up right quick here on Facebook. We showed, I don't know how long ago it's been, that we did a video where we did a ride around. And actually, I think it has, at this point, it would have been pulled off. It would have been on that sort of YouTube channel page now. But you can go through and you can actually see you can see the information that we shared while we were actually driving around that day. So there's quite a bit of information put out there. Going back in here with the with that meeting and other things that took place in that meeting, the infrastructure grant agreement with Spectrum, and I'm not quite sure exactly if it's a grant agreement or not. I tried to get some information and I did not get what I anticipated. What was discussed in that meeting is the county's going to spend, I believe it was $102,000. Now, there was money that, if you guys remember back in the early days, this was still back under Eddie Bray, there was money that was allotted from the ARPA funds. And it was $500,000 is what the county was going to use to help LES build LexNet up, so, to help the county residents. And I think, don't quote me on this, I believe it was 365 was going to go to LES, and then 135 difference I believe was going to go to no, it couldn't have been that much. It was 450 was going to LES, and 50,000 was going to go to Southwest, or ANEAS that's the broadband. It's part of JEA. That's their broadband company, like LexNet is under LES. ANEAS is under JEA or Southwest, or however they have it listed over there. But anyway, and that covers out. I know Baldy James Road, part of Baldy James Road is picked up on that there, and I know down up into Westover District and all that, that area is all covered by that there. So that's where that money was being spent at. Now, if I remember correctly, what the mayor said in that meeting was, ANEAS never collected the money, and they were okay to give that money to Spectrum up here to help us get customers. That's what I took from that meeting. As usual, it's very difficult to hear what goes on in those county commission meetings, because obviously the acoustics in that courtroom are horrible. and the county just refuses to do anything to correct it. But that's what I heard in there. And then I heard that the additional was going to be a match, or they're going to make the difference up. I'm assuming they're going to probably pull it out of undesignated funds to make the difference. So, what I understand, I think it's $102,000. I don't see where that's a grant. I don't see there's a grant coming in, because that's a high dollar match for a grant to pick up no more distance than it is. But like I said, and what I gathered, this is not part of the grant system that was recently announced by our state representative Brock Martin. This is being done sooner because Spectrum is actually in this market right this moment, installing fiber. So I guess the intent is to try to get it installed. Now, one thing I did hear was the speeds, and the speeds sound very low. But again, LexNet is a true broadband fiber optic system, I guess is the best way to put it. So you understand, fiber optic, if you've got 300 megabytes of downloading speeds, you're going to have 300 megabytes of upload speeds as well. Spectrum, when they did the system out by Fisher's, I don't know where it's at over there, somewhere over there, Darden area, they did a subdivision when they wired it in. Nick Mock had gone out there and asked questions and filmed that meeting and asked questions. And one of the things that he found out was Spectrum over there did not have a true fiber optic system. They were piggybacking on a cable backbone. And the reason you can always tell that is because of symmetrical speeds up and down load. That kind of gets lost a little bit over there when you starting to look at upload speeds. And where does upload speeds matter? It's like right now we're doing a video here, and looking at my screen, it looks like I'm frozen here. Let's see here if anybody's commenting on this here. Well, I'm still showing some movement here, but anyway, on my screen itself is actually frozen. But what happened, you're going to have symmetrical speeds. Up and down loads are going to be the same. If you're tying back to cable, you'll still have the download speeds. You just won't have the upload speeds. If you're gaming, if you're doing videos like we are here, upload speeds make a difference. If you're, back during COVID when people were working from home, if you're in a situation where you have a lot of information you need to upload, that will slow you down quite a bit. So, I'm getting some responses now that the video has frozen, and I do not know why that is. But the audio is still working, so we're going to just keep on going with this here. I'm not sure why here. Let me see here. I'm going to try something right quick. Hopefully it doesn't kick us out. Give me just 1 second here. I'm going to try to reboot the capture card. All right, if you guys are still hearing me, give me just 1 second here. Okay, let's see if we got it back. It shows back up on my screen. We should be all right now. Sorry about that. I guess my video, either the camera or the my video card in the computer went out. Anyway, getting back to that. So yeah, that's the reason we're not pushing anything on that there, because we really needed the people up in this District 1. They need this service, and sometimes you make decisions. I guess that's part of politics and government, however you want to look at it. Going through a little bit more in that county meeting that night. Where am I at here? With the most recent agenda. The Everett Horn Library. Now, I'm not sure. I've been trying to pay a little bit of attention online, but I know Crystal is moving. The library's going to be getting a bunch of upgrades. They've got a grant that's somewhere, I don't know, around about a little over $1 million. I can't remember exactly what the figure was. But these upgrades are going to happen. I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I anticipate probably April, May of next year. what's going to happen, I believe, in the interim, Crystal is moving everything over to the Otto Brett building, the fairground building over there beside LPD. So that's to be able to keep the library as a vital tool for the citizens. So they're going to keep that up. But that's one of the things that was also put in there. There was also some information about Good Idea Solar, which is Ian Gorski's organization that he's working with the county on bringing in some solar panels that's going to be installed over by the Justice Complex, the jail. They're working on some I guess on the county's leasing the land, so they're still working on that. There, it's not a whole lot to be brought back up on that scenario there. There is going to be Christmas bonuses were approved for this year for the county employees. The appointment of constable, I think there's 2 positions open now in District 1 and District 4. I think what they're going to do is, since we're so close to the election, because December 22nd, you'll be able to start picking up papers if you're going to run for a county seat, for the seats that are available. So they're going to just hold off on that there to constables for the time being. And then another thing, there's a 3-star grant, which I think was $250,000. That's there's no match, so there's no money coming out of the county's pocket. This is a straight 100% grant, and it's going to be doing something with the courthouse lawn. Again, you really can't hear that well in the meetings. From what I've gathered, there's going to build like a step up to the lawn. I guess they're kind of building it up some so they can use that there for like a stage type environment. I'm guessing that. I'm not really sure. When it happens, we'll see it and we'll know. But that's pretty much it. But that's pretty much what happened in this special call meeting with the county. Now I'm going to move forward and stick with the county before I switch over to the city. And reason being is the county also had it wasn't a county commission meeting. There was a solid waste meeting. Now there's just so you understand, it's like if you ever attend a county commission meeting, you go there early. The meetings start at 7:00, but at 6:00 is when the budget committee meets. Well, the solid waste committee is the same thing. It's that committee that oversees what happens to solid waste. Now, there was a lot of information put out there, and I'm going to give you the information that I have based on that meeting and based on some conversations I've had. And I'm finding out now that there's more information. I talked with Commissioner Jack Johnson after the meeting, and he had different information that was shared by the mayor after the meeting than what was actually shared by the solid waste director during the meeting. Pretty much what's happened here is, and again, we have this video. I did bump the audio some the best I could without getting too much background noise, and we posted it on the YouTube channel. But I mean, it was near impossible to hear what was going on. You just kind of have to take bits and pieces of it and piece it together when you know what the conversation was about. But anyway, in this solid waste committee meeting, number one, I never saw it posted anywhere. I went up and I looked through the newspaper. I couldn't find a posting of it anywhere. So, I mean, again, here we are, government bodies having meetings without giving proper notice so the citizens know what to be aware of. But moving on from that, we're going to get in here and talk about what that meeting pretty much entailed. I'm just going to go and say his name. You guys may know it. Shannon Manus. He's over in the Darden area. I believe that's where Shannon's from. I know he's in District 3 somewhere. Shannon has a business called Can It. If I remember correctly, that's the name he had told me. What he does is he drives around to residents in the county, and he picks up their trash for them, and he takes and brings it to the dump. Okay? And he charges a service fee for doing that. So that's pretty much what it is. If you don't have the means, or you don't want to take and deal with having to take your trash to a convenience center or to a MIG drive, that's what his business does. I think he charges a flat fee of $30 per month. Talking with him, he picks up trash Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I'm assuming it's based on the locations where he's picking up, and it's a weekly pickup. But that's what he does. That's it's a service for the citizens that cannot, may not be able to take and get the trash out, or just doesn't want to deal with it. What happened back sometime around June, tail end of June, Shannon has been under his I don't know. I know he's under Dan Hughes. He's been doing this since Dan Hughes. I think 2017 is when he started. Under Dan, under Eddie, and pretty much under 3 years of Robbie. And he's never had a problem. He's done the same thing all the time, and there's never been an issue. There's been, I know Mike McConville twice was the solid waste director. Almighty, an Oswald woman. I think there was a Manus gentleman as well. Anyway, this is what Shannon does. Now, what Shannon has been doing is he is picking up trash, and when he brings it, there's a scale. So he has to go up there and drive up to the scale. Nobody comes to the vehicle. He gets out, he goes up to the shack, and he sees the number, what it is, and he goes in and he writes the number down. That's his weigh in. When he leaves, when he goes up there to the dump, he dumps all the trash himself. Nobody helps him. Then when he leaves, he goes up to the scales and does the same thing. He weighs out and he logs everything. And that's how he does it. And then what he does is he pays the county $56.92 per ton of trash. All right. Sounds reasonable enough. Well, back in June, he was told he couldn't do it anymore. Well, and what he was told, and what we found out in a meeting from Chris McPeak, who is now the director of solid waste, is the mayor made that decision to happen. Now, Shannon feels that this was kind of a slight to him because he stood up pretty vocally against the residential building inspection program that the mayor has been adamant about pushing. And he feels like this was kind of a retaliation point. And what happened was in this solid waste meeting, Shannon couldn't make it. He already had previous obligations and was unable to make the meeting. And the mayor was not there. But pretty much what was discussed is this is costing the county a lot of money in manpower and the additional trash. All right. And you could tell the county commissioners who served on the board, some of them didn't quite understand how this whole thing worked and what was going on, and didn't quite make sense. And to this day, it still does not make sense. Now, Shannon went back in and he looked at his tax returns, and I think it was $78.41 is what he paid last year into dumping trash. Now, there's a couple times he could not dump at the county because the county had operational issues. So he took and had to go to the city. Now the city charges $93. So some of that money he figures somewhere around about $7,200 is about what he spent at the county. He'd have to go back through his receipts and verify everything, but we'll just say the 72 because it sounds reasonable. No more than he had to go to the city. Okay, so there's $7,200 that the county is making in revenue stream that the mayor, without talking to the county commission, without talking to the solid waste committee, decided we're not going to take anymore. We're going to stop doing this service. All righty? $7,200 we just lost in whatchamacallit. Now, if somebody can explain to me the manpower here, I'd certainly love to hear it. Because if he's weighing himself in with, I don't know exactly how, but from what I was told was the county goes and picks up the dumpsters from each one of the convenience center and brings them back, and then I guess that trash is transitioned before it's hauled to Camden. I don't know that to be a fact, but that's what I was told. And if that is the case, then it would cost the county more because now they got to get that trash to these people who can't have Shannon do it is now bringing to the dump. They're going to go to the Big Drive or go to the convenience centers. And if they got to haul it back to Big Drive, well, there's additional expense and additional manpower. It really just didn't do anything to Nobody wins in this situation. Actually, the county loses out because if you really think about it, the county's been double dipping all this time. And I'm going to tell you how. The waste is the waste. The volume is going to be the same. These county residents that are paying Shannon to dump it, if they dump it, it's still the same amount of trash. It doesn't matter whether you want to weigh it, whether you want to make it in cubic yards or whatever. It is still the same amount of trash. Whether he brings it to the to the county dump sites or they bring it to the county dump sites, it's still costing the county the same. And guess what? These people, these citizens who are making use of this service that Shannon provides, they're paying for that trash through their taxes. And it comes out of property and sales tax. If you go back in and look at how the money is dispersed, there's not a lot out of sales tax, but there is some. So, this is what's happening here is we lost a revenue stream and we've inconvenienced our people. And for what purpose? It hasn't cost us anything. We haven't spent any more money. If nothing else, we might be spending a little bit more money by not doing it. And it, I can see it. I've heard so many times around here about the retaliation. It's a very good valid point. So that's that's what's going on with that there. So the county was going to the solid waste committee was going to get together and find out some the solid waste director was going to get information and bring back, and they were going to actually up the rates. So not only have they been double dipping, now they're getting greedy. They want to charge more for something that's not costing them anything. It's not costing them a penny, and they want to charge more than what they have. And it's like I said, what this solid waste committee does is going to be, I'm not sure when the next meeting will be. Hopefully I can I'm going to make some phone calls. Junior Carter, he's my district commissioner. He's the chairman of that there, so I'm going to shoot out a message to him and ask him when the next meeting is, because I plan on attending, and again live stream and see what we can do to boost the audio up. But this is kind of a fluid situation that's still going on. We're going to see what happens, but I'm hoping that the solid waste committee goes back in there and say, look, let's just bring it back to where it was, or let's not even charge this man, because we're already paying for that. The citizens are already paying for this trash. And now they're paying for a service for him to pick it up. And if he drops it at Mig Drive and it saves the county the money from having to bring it to the convenience center to Mig Drive, then to Camden, then he's actually saving the county money. So let's see how the solid waste board handles this moving forward. Okay, now we're going to get into the first, it was the regular scheduled meeting for the city. And this is going to be, give me just 1 second. I'm having to float back through. I've had a very hectic day. So I'm going back and look at my notes here. Takes me a minute every now and then to get to that point. Okay, there was a lot that happened at this meeting. And there's a lot of information I want to talk about, and I don't know if we'll get to it tonight because we're just trying to cover the meetings. We may end up having another podcast this week. We'll have to see here. But getting in there, let's kind of let's start with this here. First of all, there has been a change at the city as far as the meeting structure. I'm not gonna say the structure, but the layout of the building, the footprint of how the board is actually doing now. They've moved. The board is spread out. They're in a complete line. And this U that they had in the past. The U that they've had in the past is gone. Sorry about that. I had a mic on. I didn't. My comrade, which I have nobody today. I had the mic on. Anyway, the board is now sitting in a straight line, so it's none of this U-shaped stuff that they were doing before, which kind of hurt paying attention. In addition, they now have a PA system. There still needs to be some training with the aldermen and everybody using the microphones, and probably some tweaking still up in there. I offered to help, and unfortunately, I guess I've upset them enough that they don't want my help. So, anyway, but that's a positive. Commissioner Donna Ross, Alderman Donna Ross, pardon me, I'm still thinking county. Alderman Donna Ross campaigned on the fact that she would buy a PA system, and she has bought a PA system, and she has donated it to the city. So that's happened, and it's going on. So that's a plus, to come back into this new city board. One thing I'm not too keen on now is if you're public comments, I'm going to praise Jeff Griggs on this here. And I know people think that I hate Jeff Griggs. I don't hate Jeff Griggs. I don't care for his politics, but I'm going to praise him on one thing. And I've praised him a million times on this, and I'll continue to praise him till I stop doing this. He was very good about letting people talk. Very good. He let people have a voice, and I greatly appreciated that about him. Even during the meeting, outside of public comments, there was times when I've raised my hand and he let me talk. And I think that was a very stand-up thing for him to do. He's letting the citizens engage with the board. Now you have to sign in, and you got to go. I don't know everything there, but you got to sign in and before you can talk. I think that's kind of. I think that's a little petty. Let people talk. I mean, that's what they're there for. And you can only talk about what's on the agenda. And I get that to an extent. My problem with that there is, at what point can the citizen ever address their elected board unless it has an agenda item? That's putting too much stress on the people to sit there and say, well, you got to figure out a way to talk to everybody. No, that's just not right. But that's me. That's my personal perception of it. Getting into this here, there's a lot of stuff that happened at that meeting. A lot of things, and I'm probably gonna wait to the next podcast to really dig back down into stuff that's happened in the packet that was sent out to the commissioners, to the aldermen in that meeting. The reason being is I got a copy of that packet, and I'm going to tell you right now, whoa, half the stuff you can't read it. I mean, you just can't read it. I've actually gone back in. I've got a 45-inch screen I've got attached now up here to try to take and discern some of it, and I still have trouble understanding it. It's just the writing is just. I don't know if this is intentional or not. But I mean, if I can't, and I wear glasses, I wear glasses, but heck, I think Alderman Jimmy White mentioned the other day that he double magnified glass it and he still couldn't read it. So, that's bad. When your alderman can't read what you got, there's a problem. And the thing is, this has been asked to be addressed, and it has still not been addressed. But like I said, that gets back into another time. Going back in here, let's go over the items on the agenda here. Discussed, approved a second reading of an ordinance establishing a tax-free program. They're still working on that. It's not as cut and dry as you think it is. There's information there, but the board is getting this resolved. I mean, so that's going to happen. And let me tell you something here. I appreciate what this is about. This is for our senior citizens, senior citizens in the community, to give them a tax break. To freeze their property tax. But, and that's a wonderful thing. But, still by state law, there is a cap on what you can make and before you can get capped, before your property tax can get capped or freeze, whatever you want to call it. My concern is I don't want senior citizens thinking, okay, well, you know what, I can just freeze my property tax and I'm all good. Yeah, but you know what? There's still other things that are out there available to help you, and we should never get them to the point of sitting there saying, "Well, pay the full tax because it's frozen," when you're qualified for a way to get your tax reduced. I think we fail in educating our seniors in that there, and we really need to do a better job of that. But let's see how this here goes. It's we should know a lot more here end of the month. Election of a vice mayor. Donna Ross was elected a vice mayor in that meeting. Discuss approve city judge appointment. Mary Jowers was reappointed to the city judge. Discuss approve the planning commission appointment. I'm gonna be honest with you. I brain farted because I don't remember what happened at this point because I actually had received a message that I was trying to deal with. I'll find that out and then I'll know for the next podcast. Discuss board appointment for Board of Zoning Appeals. Andy Anderson is actually he's stepping down. I believe Steve Hensley is who they were putting in this one. And I'll clarify. Like I said, during that conversation, I was actually kind of well, never mind. Steve Hensley was actually, he was, like I said, I was tied up in this here. I'll find out about this here more. But discuss board appointment for the Housing Authority because Steve Hensley was expiring. So this is my fault. I didn't pay enough attention during that time frame, and I did not go back through the video to take and find out. But I will look through the video and get the information on that there for the next podcast. Discuss street closure, Christmas on the square. This is just formal. They're going to, have Christmas on the square, and they're going to close down part of the street for the events. We deal with this here quite often. That's nothing really new to be overly concerned with. All right, Kenny James property tax. All right, let me tell you guys about this here, and I've known about this here since before the election. I was made aware of it, and Alderman Donna Ross has been trying to get this here resolved, and I'm going to tell you what really just killed me. And I know some of you guys commented on the video when that happened. Okay, Kenny James has a business property and a residential property. All right. So what happened was he went in and wrote a check for his personal property. Okay. And they applied it to the wrong account. Well, when he goes in there to pay his business property, told him you got to paying the wrong amount. You don't owe that much. And it's because they had applied it. So they wrote the check for what they were told to write the check for. So, unbeknownst to them, they didn't know what the heck happened. They figured it wouldn't be shocking to have the city make a mistake with it. Anyway, Kenny had his mortgage system was set up a little bit different. He didn't have a typical escrow like most people do, where the escrow account pays for your taxes and pays for your insurances. Well, his taxes didn't get paid. So the mortgage company calls up and saying, we're putting you under escrow because you didn't pay your taxes. Well, he goes down there to find out, and lo and behold, he hadn't paid his taxes. And then he gets hit with a late fee. I think it was $63. Donna was trying to get this corrected for him by saying, look, we owe him the refund because we made a mistake on how we accepted the money. Well, you really need to watch the video because they were actually arguing against doing that. Cody didn't want to do it. Gabe Williams didn't want to do it. Roger Lawson didn't want to do it. They were just afraid of setting a precedence. You made a mistake. Admit to your mistake, refund the man his money, and let's move on. And the one thing they needed the city to do was to draft a letter stating that we made a mistake, to send to his mortgage company to see if he could possibly get it back. Because what happened was, by them paying their taxes, and the insurance is now by going into an escrow account, his monthly payment goes way up. Well, and yes, I know the argument was, well, he's paying the same amount. It doesn't really matter. Well, yeah, it does. It's his choice on how he wants to pay it. And if he wanted to pay it the way he was paying it, then that's his choice. Government should never tell you how you should have to pay things. That's just not how it works. They can put a timeline on it, but they can't tell you how to do it. If you want to save up for property taxes 3 months out of the year and get it all saved to the side, then that's your right. If you want to save up for 12 months, that's fine. If you want to push the bubble and make it 13 and just extend it out there a month, wait right for the deadline, go ahead. Who cares? It's your right. Well, they didn't quite see it that way. So as far as I know, they're drafting a letter and getting him his money back, the late fee. So hopefully that's getting resolved. We haven't followed up on that so much, but it goes down to one of the things that that's typical that happens around here. It's I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, this is the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis. All right, let's get back in here. Now, what on earth happened there? And phone. I'm having all kind of technical issues tonight. Pardon me, I'm going back here. I'm going to redo this again. We're trying to keep up with this here. Here we go. Okay. Next thing we got up here, speed humps. All righty. Now this has become when it happened, it was a contentious issue, and it's a contentious issue still to this day. All righty. The way the speed bumps are set up is if you want speed bumps in your neighborhood, you're supposed to get a petition, and it's got to have, I don't remember what the percentage is, like 50% of the citizens in that area has got to approve for wanting speed bumps, or 51% would make sense, so you have the majority. And that's, or I think they have to have a minimum so many signatures. But anyway, that was to have speed bumps installed. Now, they never had anything to have speed bumps removed or for the people to sit there and say, we don't want speed bumps. So, in other words, they just got it. If you wanted it, they had it set up so you can get them. Well, Alderman Ross, had issues about this here as part of stuff that was brought up to her in campaigning. And so she's actually got it now. So if you don't want them, then you can get rid of them. It's pretty simple. It just takes, you have to have the right percentage of community members to do it. The neighborhood members, pretty much what it boils down to based on where they're at. So bottom line is now there's a way to take and resolve this issue with the speed bumps. That's we'll see how. I can't wait to see the first one come across and then how that gets addressed by the board. That's probably gonna be a fun one. All right, cemetery vandalism. There has been some issues going on out there at the cemetery with vandalism. I believe Miss Frida Perry got up and spoke to the board about this here. And I believe that she actually talked with WBBJ after the meeting that night. So, if you guys catch anything like that there, you know what? You see something, say something. All this crap about mind your business, I'm tell you what, that's somebody's loved one. That's you're a sick damn person if you're out there vandalizing somebody's gravesite. I mean, that's just scum of the earth. If you see something like that there, do the right thing. Pick up the phone. Call 911. Which we'll get to in a little bit. You'll understand that reference. All right. Coming in next, the employee list by department. Okay. We kind of sort of have that now. That was put out in the packet that Alderman got. And it gives the employee the job title, but it doesn't give you the information as far as what are the job responsibilities. And I think that's one of the things that aldermen are still looking for is they want that information. What are the job descriptions? So that's something, but yeah, that's in the packet. And like I said, and this is something we're going to carry up in the follow-up podcast on as well. Cause we got a bunch of stuff. I'm going to get pictures down for you, and be able to share up here and probably set up a separate post for it as well, just so it'll be there constantly. Vehicle equipment list by department. Okay. This is going back to their packet. I'm going to tell you right now. Oh my God. It is absolutely horrendous. I mean, just absolutely horrendous. I can read the police department for the most part. I don't know if I could hit every one of the VIN numbers because it's just so damn small. But a list of equipment and all that stuff, you just can't see it on the stuff that was sent to them. And I want to touch base on this. I'm coming back to this here in a little bit. I'm really going to hit it when we start talking about the meeting that happened this past Monday. So think about that there. That information at the October 27th board meeting, and they got the packet before then, well before then, you can't read it. You simply can't read it. And just make note of that there, because some of this stuff here I'm going to be carrying over into this next meeting, the next recap of the next meeting, so you understand a little bit better. Organizational chart by department, that was there, and that's included. And I mean, it was there. It was easy to read. We're going to be sharing all that stuff with you. You know, we're actually going to be working on getting a storage, a cloud, I think is what Blake had called it. And what it'll do is it'll allow you to take and come in here and you'll be able to go research stuff. If you want to see what's in this information, we would really hope that the city and the county would do something like this here and share their packages online. The only one that I know that shares any information online is Commissioner Andy Anderson. Now Andy has been good. I mean, he's not consistent, but he has been good. He'll show what's in his packet and he'll post it on his Facebook page. It's been a lot easier for Andy now that they're at quarterly meetings, because I'm going to tell you right now, you get something with 100 pages, you got to scan that in to be able to take and post it up on Facebook. And it's just because of formatting. I mean, they need to do a better job of making an easier format. Everything that's in here they scan into a PDF, and that's what they send out. Now we're working with using an OCR to go back to change this from a PDF back so we can export it to like into Excel so we can actually read it and expand. It's easy to go back through and expand the column sizes and the line sizes so you can actually read the information. But Blake and I are going to be working on that there to try to get this information so it's easy to discernible for you, and have it in a place that you can access it whenever you want. In other words, we're going to create public records for you. That's public record. Why they haven't already been done, who knows? But yeah, going back into that there, that's something that packet was it was a joke. I can't say it any other way. If I was a department head, I'd be ashamed of myself for putting that information out. I mean, just to have the audacity to put something out like that. And if the department heads didn't create that information, I don't know who did, but whoever did, I mean, it falls back on them. That's their department. They're ultimately responsible. That information needs to be better. All right, moving down into the next thing here, the hiring freeze hiring process. This is being kind of is still being discussed some, and what this meeting they just had last Monday. Last Thursday. Yeah. I think it was, I don't remember. Last week, when they had that meeting, that information, they're still working on this stuff here. And we'll come back and discuss it. All right. Charter changes. Again, this really was kind of put out there what's going on. Information is going to be changing up some. There was a lot of discussion about the charter change at the meeting last week. So a lot of stuff was kind of hey, I'm gonna quote Jeff Griggs. I kick the can down the road until the next meeting, because there's a lot of information that has to go through and be researched, because they're still dealing with it. But the charter changes is very important, and we'll bring that up in the talking about the next meeting coming up. All right, debt obligation. This is a bond for. If I remember correctly, this is I believe that's about the LES bond, the LexNet bond, which obviously is running through LES. It's typical government business operational. They have to run bonds, take loans out on stuff to be able to operate, and especially when you're looking at a new startup. All right, next thing is your typical gas, water, wastewater, and garbage write-offs. The TVA Joint Cost Study Agreement. I'm going to have to go back and look at that there as well to kind of come up with that. I'll give you some more information on that there. And then, of course, the last thing was the LES quarterly write-offs. Again, this is typical. When people don't pay their bill, a lot of times what happens is somebody's renting a place, they leave, and they have a bill they don't pay. And when they don't pay that bill, Well, then eventually, if it never gets paid, they have to write it off. And, so if somebody moves from the area, generally that's what happens. So that's it. But that kind of covers that meeting there. And I know we kind of zipped through there, but because there was so much that meeting didn't take that long. It's the it's the next meeting that really took long, all right, good while, and that was last Thursday. Now I'm going to tell you right now, this is the very first time I have ever been to a government meeting that I literally got up and walked out and discussed. I mean, I couldn't take it anymore. It just, man, I'm going to tell you, it was bad. Let's just get in here and we'll deal with it here, and maybe you can understand stuff. All right. We're going to start with the charter change. What happened there? Now, I'm just going to tell you my thoughts and feelings on things. What happened was back in November 2022, the city board voted on a couple charter changes, and those charter changes were very simple. It gave the mayor the authority to break a tie vote of the board. So in other words, the mayor never had voting power. This gave the mayor power, but only in the case of breaking a tie, no other times. So unless it was a 3-3 vote or 2-2 vote, because you did have a quorum at that point, he would never vote. So it's not something that happens often, but you'll tell you what, it did happen. In his very last meeting, he broke the tie to hire somebody. So, yeah, that's part of it. And the other thing was so that they could hire department heads that lived outside of the city limit. So you could live in the county and still be a department head. And that's a very smart thing to do, in my personal opinion. I mean, because bottom line is you may not have, if we were smart and we started maybe recruiting outside of Henderson County and started looking for professionals with knowledge and background, required educational experience, especially if we compared ourselves. We want to pay like everybody else. Well, let's require the same job performance or job relevant experience and education as everybody else is doing. So that we're making sure that we're hiring people that have that qualifications. But what happened was, that's what happened. That's what the charter changes were voted on by the board. Now we get in there, state legislature. What happens is when the board votes it, they send this stuff here out to MTAS. MTAS drafts it up in a legal format, and then they send it back to the city. The city sends it out to our state senator, Ed Jackson. Ed Jackson then sent a copy to the city, make sure the city was fine with it, and then him and Brock put it up at the state level, and the state legislature passed it, creates a private act, and that is the charter change. Pretty simple, it sounds like. Well, what happened was a lot of stuff got changed in that charter that wasn't supposed to get changed. What they did is actually deleted stuff. They changed up some language as well, which led to some confusion as far as to who was running things in the city. But bottom line is what was stated. This is what was stated, is that MTAS drafted it up. And when it got sent to Ed Jackson, for some reason, Ed Jackson's office took out a whole paragraph. And then they made some other changes, and that's what got approved. Okay. Well, Ed Jackson nor anyone from his office was at that city meeting Thursday night. MTAS was there, city was there. They have nobody from Ed Jackson's office there. I'm going to say this here. I have a hard time understanding why on earth a senator would have changed anything in the draft because it had already been through MTAS. They're our technical assistance services. They're the legal minds. Why on earth would a senator go in there and change anything? It just don't make any sense whatsoever. And because he wasn't there to defend himself, we don't know what the heck was, whether he did or not. He may have got in there and said, hey, yeah, I didn't do that. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. But again, he wasn't there. So that to me lends to a problem here is, we're trusting, and we know what happened the last time with the charter we trusted. It got screwed up. It just don't make sense, and I have issues with it. But I guess now they were able to tap dance around it, throw our senator under the bus, and move on, and wipe their hands of it like they've been good people and they haven't done anything wrong, which they may not have in this situation. So that's the charter change. What's happening now is they're creating an ordinance, and that ordinance will it'll bring back what was taken out. It'll put the charter back like it was and just add the two things. Then this will have to go. They'll have to vote it on it. I believe they're voting on it in this month's meeting. They're not having a meeting in December. Then they'll vote it on it again in in January when they have the next meeting. And then it goes up to state. The state approves it, and then they go back in there, and I don't know if they're going to repeal and replace the private act or if they're just going to create a new private act. I don't know what the state's going to do. But apparently that's now is how this whole thing is being fixed. So it is what it is. We'll see what happens there. I mean, it may or may not get fixed. I'm 99.99% sure it's going to be fixed. I think it's wrong that we threw our senator, who we need, under the bus. But hey, it is what it is. All righty. Getting back into this meeting here. The employee list, organizational chart, vehicle equipment list, all this stuff here. What happened was, after the charter change was being addressed, they went in and they set all the department heads in a line in front of them. So they were all facing the board, and the board was having a conversation with them. So what ended up, the first one up was Brad Jones. Now, and one of the first things being discussed was take-home vehicles. And this is what Brad said, and this is what I heard. Take-home vehicles is at his discretion as the general manager of LES. Now, remember, LES works a little differently than the rest of the bunch because TVA has oversight over LES. That's not just the city board. But what was discussed was there's 6 take-home vehicles, and it's by managers. Upper echelon of the whatchamacallit. Now, he got into the conversation. He did state that there was on-call vehicles. There's 4. There's 2 out west and 2 out east, and that's what it is. The managers are on call as well. So if a call goes out, the manager is determined to go out there. I'm not quite understanding that there, but I mean, 6 managers and 4 were online crews. I mean, on-call crews. Seems like quite a bit of managers for, I guess I would assume 4 individual people. I mean, I don't think they're going to be riding around picking up people to go out on the truck, but I could be wrong. So I mean, that kind of seems like some overkill there, but that was what was in there. But that was the one thing that I kind of took out of what Brad was saying. He was talking about with employees and stuff. I think he's pretty good. Obviously, he's right now still kind of the oversight with LexNet. So LexNet obviously is going to be hiring, and they're looking at different ways of saving revenue because right now they're using so much stuff. They're outsourcing so much I remember the service calls and stuff was all that was being handled. I think their dispatch and everything was being handled back through Irby, who was the original contractor. So he's looking at ways to bring it back in house, which will save them a lot of money. But you still got to have people to do that. So he's still going to have to hire people into LexNet to get it. But he didn't seem to be in a position where he was going to be hiring anybody else for any other positions. So that's kind of where it was. The only thing I would say about that there with LES was looking at the 6 to 4 managers to online callers as far as vehicles are concerned. Alrighty. We left Brad Jones and we went into Cody Woods. Okay. Now, I think one of the biggest problems here I notice is we have new people. And we really, there's trying to understand everything is not easy to do. The information is put out is again not the best in the world. So I'm going to try to show you something here because this was something that was discussed. Okay, last year, even though the city did not have a property tax rate increase, we know they did it the 2 years before. Mayor Griggs and his did not recommend a property tax increase. But they still had an increase in spending, which was $500,000. Now, I'm not sure. I got to go back and listen back to the meetings again. I'm sorry, I'm not perfectly prepared for this one here because I've had a lot going on personally, but roughly around about $400,000 of that there is going into raises, which is a recurring expense. Now, I understand, recurring. You have to pay that year after year after year after year. Now, the value of a penny is sitting somewhere around about $26,000. I've got the budget. I'm not going to go back through and try to find it again. It took me a while to find it the first time. But I'm just going to round it down to $25,000. The $25,000 is the value of a penny. So for every 1 cent of property tax increase, they generate $25,000. Okay. So if they raise the property taxes 4 cents, that increases it $100,000. Well, guess what? If you've got to raise $400,000, you got to take and have, we know 4 quarters get you $1. Well, it's going to take you 16 quarters to get you to $400,000, which is a 16-cent property tax increase. Now, what was stated, and it seems to be correct, is this money is coming out of reserves. We'll say it that way. Now, there's a lot of back and forth with the board over undesignated funds and what they call rainy day funds. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you look at the budget, that don't make any sense when you talk about it because it's all coming out of the same pot. At least how it is shown in the budget. Right now, I am looking at it, and I'm going to see if I can get you this here. I'm going to see if it'll show up to you. I want you to see. I don't know if this will work or not. I'm trying to see if it'll clear up, but I don't think it will. These numbers right here. I'm going to read them to you. Okay. What was stated in this meeting was we have $6.4 million in reserves, and we have, I think he said $979,000 in rainy day funds. And Alderman Ross was asking, where's the $500,000 coming from? And the impression was it was coming out of the rainy day fund. Well, come to find out, it wasn't coming out of rainy day fund. It's coming out of the undesignated fund. Well, if you look at this damn piece of paper here, that's the same crap. I mean, there just ain't no difference with it. If you sit here and look, I'm going to read you the line. Beginning fund balance. All right. The next line is the net change in the fund balance. And then the ending fund balance. Okay. Now I'm going by the information that he shared. If we have 979, I'm just going to say it's $1 million. If we got $1 million sitting up in our rainy day fund, and we have 6.4 million in our undesignated fund, that gives you a total of $7.4 million. Well, guess what? For this year, the undesignated fund is expected to have $7.4 million. Okay? So that includes the rainy day fund and the undesignated fund. It's all one freaking account because there's not a separate line item for it. This is the mumbo jumbo crap that they go up there and they try to feed, and nobody understands what's going on because you really got to look at these things here and understand how it works. So, okay, we know where that's coming at. If we've got $400,000 that is going into pay, recurring expense, well, guess what? Are you going to keep pulling out of your savings every year? Because you know what eventually happens? You ain't got no savings left. Period. We're required by state, according to Cody, to keep $2.5 million. So where on earth is cuts going to come from? And everybody was up there saying they can't afford to cut anything. They can't afford to cut anything. Can't afford to cut anything. Well, guess what? The only other way you're going to get it is through property taxes. And we know about 16 cents right now is going to be needed to cover this here from all these damn raises that they keep giving out. Bottom line is you got to be able to pay for it. And that's where people don't understand. And the only place you're going to get it from is the taxpayers, at least in regards to the general fund employees. The rest of us is coming from our rates. So, don't be surprised if you don't hear a 15, 16 cent property tax increase being talked about. 15 to 16 cent property tax increase, 15 to 20 cents, what I'm going to say, coming next year. I mean, I expect that you'll probably hear those numbers coming out. We'll see how that plays out. Anyway, there is something else too. I want to take and I want to share with you here. Now, again, this is the general fund budget. All right. In 23-24, so from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, the county was budgeted to spend $10.75 million. So $10.75 million, 10.75. All right. Okay. That's what the budget was. Well, I mean, that's what the actual was. I'm sorry. I didn't see what the budget is for 24-25. This is last last fiscal year. They actually had budgeted $12,587,000. Okay. $12,587,000. That's what they budgeted for. So that's how much money they said they needed to operate the city for a year. Remember that. All right. We're talking $12,587,000. All righty. That's what they said they needed. When it got down to it, and they made amendments, and I'm going to tell you right now, I have yet to see in any of the packets that aldermen have shared with me in their emails a complete breakdown of line item by line item transfers. So when you do a budget amendment, you got to transfer from one line item to another line item. I'll give you a prime example. I have asked, and nobody has been able to tell me, and I may not sound like a lot, but I'll tell you what, a little bit here, a little bit there, it all adds up. I'm going to tell you something. The $20,000 that was used to buy a bucket truck, which I have no clue why they needed a second bucket truck for Public Works when they've already got not a brand new one, but they got a newer model one that sits down there at Kaywood. You ride by and you see it pretty much every day. Why on earth did you need another bucket truck? You already got one, and you got a nice one. And why have you been riding around in that crap one when you've got a nice one? That don't make any sense to me. And I mean, what do? From what we were told was hanging Christmas decorations and working on traffic lights. Okay. How often are you doing that? A year. So why on earth did you need another bucket truck for $20,000? My big thing is, where did the $20,000 come from? What a line item did they pull it from? Did they pull it from the police department line item? Who knows? I mean, we don't know because nobody has been able to tell me, and there was nothing put out about it in the packet. Now, so the board's been voting on stuff, and they haven't even seen the line items. I mean, it's just, how do you know what's been transferred from what place to next place? Now, I want you to remember this here. $12,587,000. Amendments for last year was $2.7 million. In other words, they took and amended the budget. They dropped it down lower. And what it shows here, it came out $9.845 million. Okay? Now, let's remember here, budgeted last year was $12,587. Well, this year it's only $11,149. Now, you raised your taxes. Why did your budget gone down? I mean, when you start looking at these things and you start comparing, and yeah, you can sit there and say, well, we've paid off this, we've paid off that, yeah. But you know what? I've seen us take more bonds out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there may be money pop back and forth in grants. But when you have amendments in the neighborhood of a quarter of your budget, that's a problem. Now, let's go back to the 21, I think it was the 21-22 budget year when the audit. And let me see here. I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to kind of quote a little bit. I'm not going to get too deep into this here. I'm going to save this here for the next one here, for the next podcast, because we're getting off the rails here. And we already been an hour and 15 minutes into this. Okay, let's get back into this here again. We are, the next one up was after Cody Woods was Jeff Middleton. Before I get to Jeff Middleton, I want to remind you of something here. These aldermen had questions for these department heads, and these department heads requested to have the questions asked of them before the meeting so they could prepare. All right. So they wanted to know what the questions were going to be so they could be prepared for it. Before that meeting started, you should have seen the line of aldermen walking down in front of the line of department heads walking down in front of the aldermen's seats. And they were handing out information right there on the spot. Now, Donna Ross did bring up that there. Somebody said something. Well, send what I just handed out to you. She's like, well, I just got it. I haven't had a chance to read it all. So here they are. To me, that was a major issue to me where the board failed. The board, if I would have been the board, I'm going to tell you right now, I'd have wrote everybody up. You know what? You're handing me out information that we're getting ready to talk about right now, and you're expecting me to have this information. And then you want to try to make me look bad because I haven't read what you just handed out to me? No, and this is what spurred me to get up and walk away and discuss, because I had seen enough of it, because this is the same thing that we've always dealt with. The department heads have run the city and the board has been useless. It's just, it has to change. But getting into Middleton, police cars. I mean, police cars. I mean, this is a, he's got a bunch of police cars. I mean, it's just what it boils down to, and everybody gets to drive a police car home. I mean, heck, one of the line items I saw was, oh, shoot. Hold on a second here. Let me get the printed packet out. I'm not 100% sure what the title is. Under the salary, it's listed as Civilian Personnel Supervisor. Alrighty. Let me see here. Okay, I think this is the first one. Here we go. Like I said, there's just the amount of information. I'm going to take and just kind of, and this is the one I can read. You see that line, all that information right there? I can read this one here somewhat. Same sheet of paper, and there's a lot more lines. You can't read that crap. I mean, it makes no sense why they, and I'm going to tell you right now, they're being asked, the board is asking, we can't read this. We need to have something we can read. And they still haven't gotten it. They've asked for this information and they still haven't gotten it. Again, I'd be writing people up. I mean, if you can't do your job, carry your butt on. I mean, that's just the way I look at it. But I want to get in here and This list here is it does give the employee who has each vehicle. All right. One of the things that kind of in this here that kind of got me, what talking with an alderman, there is I don't even know what the heck the job title is anymore. It's pretty much oh shoot, what is it? It's the clerk for evidence clerk. I think that's the title. An evidence clerk. Okay. Why on earth would an evidence clerk need to have a police vehicle? Why would they need a vehicle, period? They're an evidence clerk. I mean, it's not like, I mean, did they go on site and collect evidence? I mean, it don't sound like a clerk to me at that point in time frame. And isn't that what your patrol officers who are out there doing that there, or your investigators are designed to do? Why on earth do you have but bottom line is, this is what's happened is anybody, any Tom, Dick, or Harry can take and bring a vehicle home. I mean, this is the stuff that goes on that people have been complaining about to the alderman. So, like I said, there was a lot of information put out, discussed, and I'm going to say what it was they were, I don't know how to say this here. They were paying attention, I guess, more so than anything else. It's, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to answer a couple of questions here, and I'll get back to this here because I'm going to be wrapping this here up pretty shortly. Candy, so all 6 managers are on call all of the time. That's what I took from what he said. Yes. Is this the new board that has been voting for raises and spending? No, Amanda. The old board has been the one voting for it. There is, I don't know how this new board's going to vote yet. I'm assuming they're not going to vote for it. I'm going to rephrase that there. I do expect Roger Lofton, because he's always voted for raises. I expect Gabe Williams to vote for raises, because that's what Gabe Williams does. He joins on that there. Sandra Wood has been on the Griggs train for so long. The word around is that she's going to flip sides. Who knows? I mean, if you want to play with the cool kids, you got to play with the cool kids. Whoever's in power. So yeah, that's not it's not this current board, but like I said, we haven't gotten to that point yet. So we'll see what happens. And I will say something too. I think it's Roger Lofton voting for anything to do with raises to me is a serious conflict of interest, simply for the fact that his wife works. She works for the city. I mean, he's voting in the raise to improve the revenue in his household. But hey, it is what it is. But what happened though when Middleton got in there and started talking, Alderman Jimmy White brought up something, and that is the dispatch with the county and the city having dispatchers. Now, I'm going to tell you something that when you listen to the video of it, he kind of got in there and, said, well, first of all, only 25% of our calls go to 911. Most people call 968-6666. I mean, that may be very well true. I don't know. And then, he went on to say when the 911 calls go to the county, and then they dispatch out. All right. And this is my term, kind of got in there. He's like, well, they don't have to legally take and reply to the call or dispatch calls to us. And I knew some basic stuff on that there. I didn't know a whole lot, but I went back and I researched afterwards. And since we have now created a 911 district, it's something to look into. But what also was stated is the county said if they were going to take over dispatch, that they wanted $330,000, I think, or $300,000. I don't remember what it was from the city. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you, I went back through and looked at the county budget for this year. Now, and there's two things you got to look at here. The 911 center is an independent government agency. They're just it's just they're just a different. They're kind of standalone. But what I got from this here was the county budgets $707,000 to fund. That's for this year to fund the 911. Then you go back into the revenues. They actually collect $425,000. It's the E911 reimbursement that comes from the state. Now, just so you understand, every cell phone, any phone, you're paying a 911 fee on. That fee gets collected. It's a tax, and that's what's used to fund 911 services. So once we decide that we wanted to become a 911 service, which we have, then you have a districting map is what you have. And if you go back in and you look at the 911 board on the state, our districting map shows countywide. Obviously, the city of Lexington is inside the county. So from what I gather from this here, I mean, and you also got to think about it. I'm assuming that probably majority of the money coming in to fund the 911 call center is coming out of property taxes. Well, if it's coming out of property taxes, the city residents are already paying that property tax, so they're already paying for the service. And it seems like a stretch for the county to come up in here and try to want to take and make more money than what it's actually costing, than what they're getting paid. I mean, that's a very big stretch to me. That I think that could be something that could be checked into. And when I was looking back through the city budget under revenue streams, it didn't say, and I don't know because all it said was dispatch. Let me pull this back up here. So I don't know if this is a 911 services under revenues. Let's see here. I saw it when I was looking through it today. Dispatch fees. For this year, we're budgeted 116 as a revenue. So I'm assuming the dispatch fees may be the 911 taxes that we're collecting in the city. Well, you know what? Hell, give them that, negotiate the price down, and say, look, I'll give you, and then come back in here, whatever it costs. Let's say it costs them, we'll round up and say $300,000. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say $280,000 is what's got to be added to the 911 fees to run the 911 call center. Okay. All right. Well, and got to remember now, this revenue comes into the county, into the trustee. This is revenue collected for the 911 service. If they opted, they don't want to do this anymore. Not a big issue. They lose all their revenue. They just pretty much go belly up because where they get money from? I mean, they may have some reserves, and who are they going to sell out to if nobody wants to pay them? I mean, that's just, people need to remember who has the upside to it. But let's say we're getting $120,000 here. Well, hell, give them the 120. Who cares? Let them have it. You know what? They're going to probably have a higher call volume, obviously. That makes sense. Give them the 120. But let's sit here and say it costs $280 difference between the 911 fees they're collecting and $280,000 for them to budget. There's 20,000 customers, 28,000 residents in Henderson County, 20,000 in the county, 8,000 in the city. Let the city pay the fair share of $80,000. There you go. And guess what? The city just saved a crap load of money. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands. I'd say hundreds of thousands of dollars they would save. Obviously, they're not. The call log goes down, the dispatch goes away, and then the county can actually get on the same radio system, which I'm assuming they already have to be, as the city has to be on the same service as what the county's on. Then we ain't got to worry about spending $250,000 for radios because the city decides that we want to be on with the state. Why in the hell do we need to be hearing calls from what's going on out in Bristol? I mean, we don't need to know any of that there. And I'm assuming right now that there's enough communication that if there's an issue, that law enforcement's already talking, emergency services are already talking. County and statewide, we know that stuff's already happening. We don't need to be into these high dollar radios. That's just a want, not a need. But that's what's going on here. But anyway, this is when. But we're sitting there, and now we already discussed it. It's already been established that 911 dispatch. All the calls go into the county, and then the county dispatches from there. Well, then he said, someone asked him, well, where does the 911 calls go to? He's like, well, they come to LPD. Well, hold on a second. Now, here we are just discussing it coming from the county, going into the county, and the county's dispatching you, but they don't have to. And now you're saying they're coming to the 911. And it's just like, did nobody catch that? And I just, that was it. I had enough. I got up and I walked out. So what I'm going to give you here is one of the last two department heads, because I'm just going to tell you what was told to me by Alderman. Casey Kyle, the questions that was asked of him, the information was on a piece of paper. I had one alderman told me that this is exactly what his words were. I don't think Casey understood the words that he was saying. I don't think he understood what the meaning was. It's like somebody else prepared this here, and he's just reading off of what the list was, and that's it. He had nothing else to offer other than what was up there. It's kind of like you're just reading a book, and you could tell he got kind of hung up and didn't understand what it meant, some of the words. So, that tells me a lot there. And then, of course, I think pretty much everybody in the utility department's got a vehicle, and that's going to be an issue. But that was something else too. Was talked about with Justin Roach. So anyway, I'm gonna touch base some more aldermen this in the next couple of days. We may try to do another podcast probably Thursday night around about 7:00 as well. I've got an event tomorrow. I got to cut chop up some leaves come Wednesday, and so we're going to try to get in here Thursday. I think Blake's going to join me Thursday evening around about 7:00. We'll do another podcast and get you some more information in this here, because there's a lot of stuff that we still have to go over. One of the things too I want to talk to you about is a rumor on the air going around about lawsuit, county commissioner suing the county over a difference in pay between the school board members and the county members. We're going to break that down to you and talk to you a little bit about that and some additional things too. But thank you guys for bearing with me tonight. I know this has been a long one. Sorry to keep it so long. There's just a ton of information to get out, and I wasn't the best prepared for this here. I've got a lot of stuff going on that we're trying to prep. We're going to get to see our son. He's flying in Saturday afternoon. We haven't seen him in 3 years due to deployments, so we're looking to spend time with him. We're going to be taking off the week of Thanksgiving. If there is a meeting, I will attend the meeting, but that's, we're going to, I've just got a lot of stuff going on, and April's got a lot of health issues, so my family comes before anything else in this world other than my Lord and Savior. So, that's where my time is devoted right this moment, so I do apologize again for not being more up to speed, I guess my normal self, but I thank you guys for bearing with us, and we'll get this straightened out here and get some more information for you, and look forward to Thursday at 7:30. I'm going to check out. You guys have a wonderful night, and we'll see you on Thursday.